365 MDRT. MDRT every day.
This is a video of me in Jan 2020 sharing my dream target in this career. But honestly, I was only doing 100 MDRT, not even 1/3 of my dream target that I had committed to achieve. And I seriously doubted that if I could even reach this anywhere near. But never let procrastination and circumstances kill your target. And in this video, let's spend some time opening up your mind to a whole new world of big case closing. So that hopefully by the end of this video, you will look at this career with a new perspective. Hi, this is Dr. Sanjay Tolani, the family leader of Sanjay Mentoring Family. Over the last decade, I have helped hundreds of thousands of financial advisors like yourself who are struggling to excel in this industry as trusted and credible financial advisors. In 2021, I have successfully closed more than 300 MDRTs, a huge target which I thought was impossible. And I'm very excited to share with you, the art of closing big cases. Before you think that big case closing requires you to have rich connections, I want to prove to you how ordinary advisors like yourself have benefited from learning big case closing strategy. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you my journey to 300 MDRT, and along the way, I want to cover 4 important learning points. Now, the first one is, how do you reduce your meeting time? The second one, how to break down your target into achievable goals. The third learning point is, how do you increase your case size? And lastly, how do insurance advisors get their breakthrough in this highly competitive career? So, without further ado, let's get started. I know what you're thinking right now. Dr. Sanjay, you can hit your 300 MDRT target because you have rich connections. I don't have that. You have the right mentor to guide you. I don't have that. You have the right skill set and the environment to help you make that breakthrough. I don't have that. Did I read your mind correctly? Of course I did. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming you for thinking like that. In fact, that was exactly what I thought when I started out. When I was new to the industry, whenever I heard stories of my peers successfully closing big cases, I always took it with a pinch of salt. I simply attributed it to them knowing the right people at the right time. In fact, it took me an embarrassingly long time in my career to realize the true culprit hindering my ability to perform to my full potential. If I could sum it up in one sentence, it's this: procrastination kills opportunity every day. Now, some of us might be lucky enough to realize that we are procrastinating. For others, they simply get on with the downward negativity spiral, which they never recover from. If you're feeling demotivated and down, trust me, you're not alone. I've had equally bad days as well. Let me share with you a personal story that's close to my heart. Today, you see the glamorous side of me, speaking across 53 countries and sharing with hundreds of thousands of advisors about my financial planning strategies. But you don't get to see is my downside, the doubts, the struggles, and the nervous breakdowns that I've had to come in terms with along my journey. Who doesn't want a quick success, right? If I can 10x my results year on year, who doesn't want that? 19 years ago, when I first started selling insurance, my premium size was about $100. Like many of you, I'll be happily calling up everyone I know, arranging appointments, and trying to introduce the idea of insurance and protection. Day by day, hour by hour, I was working myself to the max. Did I do better? In a sense, yes, I did. In fact, I achieved my first TOT 4 years in the business, but sooner or later I realized that I was stuck. Things started to turn sour when clients were usually brought from me did not even bother to reply to my calls. In fact, they switched to buying larger cases from other advisors. Now, slowly but surely, I started losing most of my prospects I had built from ground up. This was extremely frustrating time for me. I desperately wanted to take my career to the next level and get unstuck, but I didn't really know how to do it. I think the biggest problem with getting stagnated and stuck is that no matter how hard you try, you keep producing diminishing results year after year while drying yourself up both mentally and physically. People celebrate your success, but no one truly knows how much panic it feels when it sets in. One moment, I was riding high in the clouds. the future looking as bright as can be, with many other advisors patting me on the back and telling me how good a job I was doing. Next moment, I was starving face to face at my targets, having underperformed by a big red 50%, with an MDRT seeming so difficult to achieve. To me, that was a huge slap in the face, a wake-up call. Now, in most cases, the story could have ended there. I could have bluffed myself that what I had achieved was good enough. I was one of the top producers. It's already an amazing feat to reach where I am. I could have said that to myself over and over again. Or I could really go back to the beginning, completely reinvent myself from the ground up, give myself no excuse other than to hustle, grind, and figure that breakthrough. So what did I choose? Why the tougher path? Of course, the breakthrough. From 1 MDRT in 2003 to 10 MDRT in 2007 to 100 MDRT in 2018 and 300 MDRT today. On paper, the results look impressive, but what you don't see is the exponential pain I have moved in restructuring my business year over year. Haven't we always been told that business is a numbers game and that by meeting more people you should get more income, right? Well, I used to believe in that too. In fact, I worked so hard meeting around 15 clients a day until I reached a point where I realized I didn't have the time or energy to meet any more people. I could be honest with you, in 2006, I'd already maxed out on the number of clients I could actually meet. Even after all the strategies I've shared with you on how to cut short a meeting, I've actually reduced the meeting time from 2 hours to 20 minutes on an average. Now, let's sidetrack a little bit and talk about learning point 1. How do you reduce your meeting time? You need to learn to use concept presentations. I have many YouTube videos that talk about this. Arrange your appointments in 1 or 2 locations. Don't waste time on traveling from location to location. Do a mixture of physical and Zoom meetings so you can potentially do a meeting while traveling in a car. Don't get carried away with chit-chatting. Bring focus back to the meeting by using phrases like, the purpose of today's meeting is to help you understand the importance of financial planning for your family and business. Get an assistant to schedule and remind prospects on appointment timings. Now, let's hop right back to the story. By 2007, my income had reached a limit and started to stagnate. That is also when I realized precisely the need to learn how to close big cases to give my career a revival. Our business is like a heartbeat. The small cases allow us to survive, but it's the big cases that make us rich. I've started challenging myself to close bigger cases and work on my case size over the years. You see, the formula to our production is simple. It's the number of clients you meet multiplied by the case size multiplied by a closing ratio, which is equal to your production. Now, based on the above theory, if I have already maxed out the number of clients I meet, the only thing I could potentially work on is my case size and closing ratio, isn't it? Now, let's sidetrack again a little bit. Learning point 2, how to break down your target into achievable goals. I just thought that since we are already on this topic, why not let me go a bit deeper on planning how to hit your numbers. Many of us struggle to hit our target because we don't do proper planning. Would you agree? Break down your target. The idea sounds simple, but I realized many of you guys are not doing it at all. At the end of the day, it boils down to 3 key aspects: your closing ratio, the number of prospects you meet, and the average case size. So the formula is prospects multiplied by case size multiplied by your closing ratio. What I find that works really well for me is to have a rough idea of how many prospects I would need to meet my target. So let's take an example. Sanjay, I'm aiming for a $50,000 production. My closing ratio is 50% and my average case size is $5,000. Great. That means you need to only meet 20 prospects to hit your target. From there, you can further break it down to how many prospects per day. Another way of looking at things is to realize that there are in fact many different combinations to hit your target. For example, you can hit 50K with 10 cases of $5,000 each. You can also hit 50,000 with 5 cases of $10,000 each. Find the most suitable combination and mix it around. In the long run, it is always good to have a mixture of small and large cases. But Dr. Sanjay, what if my case size is a little bit too small? Don't frighten. Let me introduce to you to learning point 3. How do you increase your case size? Most of the time, when your case size is small, the reason is because, well, you're not presenting large numbers, because you're scared that your client will find you pushy or you think the client might not be able to afford it. Remember, this is a misconception because how much our clients need is dependent on a multiple of their income. For example, life insurance is 10 times of their annual income. The second reason is you do not create the right concept that led to the right product. For example, retirement planning typically results in a larger case. But if you did not even mention about it in your presentation, that'll never happen, is it? If that's the case, one way to quickly turn it around is to restructure your offer. There are three verticals to consider when we talk about increasing case size. The first one is your product offering versus closing ratio. Now, different products have different closing ratios and take different amounts of time to close. For example, retirement planning is a larger case, but it usually takes longer to close, while income protection, commonly known as a critical illness policy, is easier to close, but the case is slightly smaller. Take the time to sit down and ask yourself, what's your closing ratio for each product and what is the right product mix for yourself? I'm sure you will uncover the optimal combination. The second vertical is periods to offer products. Understand when is the best time to sell certain products. It's a huge factor. We have 4 quarters in a year, and every quarter there are different products for you to focus on. For example, if you're focusing on life insurance, that requires huge amount of underwriting in Q4. Chance of getting it issued is low because the underwriter is so busy during that period. Make sure you familiarize yourself with the right product for the right time. The third vertical, which is the most important one, is clients' affordability. Like we mentioned earlier, affordability is based on your client's income. You can't be selling a large case to someone who can't afford it, right? Over the years, it's important to get the correct clientele and find a target market that you love to work with. Pay close attention to how you position yourself because this is key. If you brand yourself as someone who works on small cases, chances are that everyone recommended to you will be buying small cases. I've made this mistake before and it took me a long time to reposition myself correctly. That's why I've been constantly reminding the Big Case Closer members about it. Okay, now let's go back to my story. After I knew I had to increase my case size, I've started to embark on a journey to close bigger cases. The journey is truly challenging and difficult. You see, in our industry, not everyone is willing to share their trade secrets with you. And even if they did, they will only show you a small glimpse of it. It's not something I can Google and find out, because if I could, I would have saved 10 to 15 years of my lifetime. In fact, this is also the reason why I even started sharing my knowledge online today, because I know how helpless the feeling of being lost and not knowing what to do next. So I spent the last decade flying all over the world, learning from different small financial planning strategies from every single mentor who was generously willing to coach me. I remember in 2007, I was introduced to the concept of specialization, and this literally blew my mind. My mentor sat me down and showed me a case of $25 million, and I was like, wow, I didn't even know it could be done. Suddenly, I felt like a small fish in a large ocean. What I realized is that many of the advisors don't even specialize even today. Things like family office management, risk management, asset management, or even corporate financial planning. How many of us actually know that we can dive deeper into each of?
All right, welcome everybody to a new session in 2022. Good day, guys. My name is Haris and I'm your MC for today. Thank you for joining us for the Basics of Financial Planning Workshop 2022, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of financial planning. Today we'll be covering how to master the financial planning basics via 6 steps for new advisors. And of course, this will be presented by none other than our family leader, Dr. Sanjay Tolani. For those of you who may not know who Dr. Sanjay Tolani is, he has been in the industry for 20 years and has achieved 20 times MDRT, 2 times COT, and 16 times TOT. That's top of the table. Last year in 2021, Dr. Sanjay hit his unbelievable target to do 1 MDRT every day. That's 365 plus MDRTs completed in the whole of last year. What a feat. It was amazing. All right. So today's session, we'll be doing a 2.5 hour, maybe up to 3 hours session and will be especially useful for new advisors who are planning to start this year strong. We're going back to the basics, building good knowledge, strong knowledge on how to do financial planning. All right. For everybody that's with us right now, again, thank you for joining. We also want you to make sure that you have downloaded the PDF notes that are available for today's session so you can follow along. The link for the notes should be in either the group or the live chat that I think our team is posting on right now. All right, so without further ado, let's get started and give a warm welcome to our family leader and our mentor, Dr. Sanjay Solane.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot, Harris. Okay, guys, today's session is exceptionally important. And the reason for me doing the session is very clear. I want to make sure that we've at least got the basics in place. Guys, it is almost end of the first month of the year. So we can't keep saying Happy New Year all the way till the 31st of January, right? It's time to realize that it's either now or never. And today's session, I've wanted to do for a couple of things. Number one, when I started the Sanjay Mentoring Family, this was back in 2018. I started because I realized that I was as lost as a young advisor, and I wanted to make sure that when a new advisor joins our business, they join it for the right reasons and they stay in the business for the right reasons. I remember when I just joined this business, I was around 17 years old. And I started working with a lot of my college students. I started working with young professionals or just people who have just graduated from university. And I was scared of looking stupid, right? I was giving financial planning advice. I was giving financial advice. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't look stupid. I did not feel confident if they asked me a very particular financial question. So I realized it's not just about sales. It's about knowing your financial plans in place. You need to understand the financial theories on giving best advice. It's not just about selling. It's also about being confident about the advice that you give to your client. I'll give you an example. I remember a client asking me this question, Sanjay, why is this product structured in such a manner? Now, how many of you have heard that question? That Sanjay, why was this product made the way it is? And how many of you know the answer to that question? Think about it. Or a question that a client would ask saying, Sanjay, financial planning theory suggests A, B, C, D, right? Why are you suggesting X, Y, Z? So think about it, right? They talk about buy term, invest the difference. Some people say buy whole life. So there are different reasons and different financial theories that people will refer to. Why those financial theories exist and how does it affect your financial planning advice to your client? Think about this. Who designed this product? So how many of you know the history of the way the product was designed? How many of you have spent time understanding when the critical illness product was created, when the life insurance product was created, when education planning and retirement planning became a part of financial planning? How many of you have spent time studying that? And I want you all to think about this, that do you have the correct reasons for joining this business? The worst answers we give to our clients is, Mr. Client, I'll get back to you. It automatically shows that you're not prepared. And it makes you look not confident about the business, or saying, well, that's a great point. Let me ask my mentor. Right? And I started writing this down because I realized these were answers that I was giving. Or even just accepting the fact that I don't know. Can you imagine you go to a doctor and you ask the doctor a question and the doctor says, I don't know. How confident do you suddenly feel of this doctor? And I want you all to think about this. Your level of confidence gets affected with the answer that you give to the question that your clients ask. Guys, you're not alone. I was in exactly the same boat. And that's why even today, I continue to study and I keep upgrading my skills, because I know there will be questions out there where I don't know the answer to. But I need to continue to excel at that. I can't be giving the same answer 5 years from now. Forget 5 years. I shouldn't be giving the same answer 6 months from now. If a client has asked me a question, I should have already upgraded myself to make sure that the next time someone asks me the same question, I'm prepared for it. So, how many of you have spent that time? And that's what today's session is about, is giving you the basics to make sure that you feel more confident at giving your best advice to your clients, right? I followed what my trainer said, just do fact finding. It helps. I mean, fact finding, you identify the financial gaps for your client. But what if your clients don't give you the correct data? How do you check if a client is giving you the correct data or not? What are the strategies that you use to get there? Guys, the worst feeling is when a client tells you, Sanjay, you need to go back and study before you come back to me. It absolutely demotivates you and it makes you feel horrible. Can you imagine a client just telling you on your face saying, Sanjay, go back, learn the basics, and then come back? I don't even think you've got the basics correct. Guys, that's what I wanted to do in today's session. I wanted to make sure that everyone in our profession gets the basics correct. And that's why I started the Sanjay Mentoring family. It was to get one thing across, that as a profession, we need to learn together. As a profession, we need to share best practices. As a profession, we need to get advisors to move to the next level. Because if you become better advisors, if you give better advice, not doing just better sales, but giving good advice to your clients, the value of our profession will increase. And I want insurance advisors to be considered a valuable profession. That was the whole purpose of setting up Sanjay Mentoring Family. To make sure that it's not just about sales. Because you can learn sales strategies from a lot of places. You can try different strategies for sales. But if you don't give the correct advice, it destroys the reputation of our profession. If we don't give consistent advice, right, it destroys the reputation of our business. How many of you feel that there was a financial advisor that gave wrong advice to a client? Not the wrong product, not the wrong company, but wrong advice. Think about it. That's what needs to change. And that's exactly what I'm focusing on today's session. So, why did I start this? Very clear on that. A lot of new advisors don't have the system that will help them on how to become a better advisor. That was the other thing, right? I don't blame you, right? I all started with the same system. We had the same trainers telling us stuff. I've been asked this question by a lot of the people in the family saying, Sanjay, are you trying to become a trainer? Guys, I'm not. I'm a practitioner, just like each one of you. I'm working with clients face to face, day to day, in and out. Even before the session, I had a client meeting. And even after the session, I have a client meeting. I don't want to become a trainer. I'm very clear about that. I'm not here to tell you there's a coaching program where I'll give you module 1, module 2, module 3. Am I trying to become an education institute? No, I'm not. I'm just trying to help fellow advisors like yourself get to the next level. So what I'm sharing with you is what I do and how I do it. And if you can adopt it, you can copy and paste it, great. But I want you all to add your own spin to it. So today I'm sharing with you what I would be doing. What are the basics that I set as my foundation to move to the next level? And if you like that, I want you all to build your own characteristic, your own personality on those foundations. But get your basics and your foundation correct. So that was what I wanted. The second thing I realized was we as advisors talk bad about other advisors. Guys, stop doing that. Stop saying ABC advisor is bad. Stop saying ABC insurance company is bad. Stop talking about companies and advisors being bad. You never badmouth a colleague. They can have their own perspective. So if they give advice, you disagree with that advice, you can say, my perspective is ABCD. They might have given you the advice based on what they thought was correct, but this would be my advice, right? So instead of saying that that person has given you bad advice or given you the wrong advice, always remember that our profession, we all are changing, we all are growing. And as each one of us grows, we will learn different skills, we will have different products. The worst is when some advisors compare new products to old products, right? That product might have been the best product at that point of time when the client purchased it. That's what you need to tell your client, that at that time, that might have been the best product. But today, this is what I have an updated version. Medicines change. So if medicines change, you have the right to change your prescription as a doctor. But it doesn't mean that the previous doctor was wrong. Please get that straight. Stop bad mouthing other advisors. Stop bad mouthing other insurance companies. We all are working in one direction to make sure that our clients are financially independent in the future. That's what our business is about. Our business is to make sure that from a financial perspective, every single family that we interact with becomes more secured, lives a more successful financial life. You see, we can't define success in different ways for our clients, but from a financial perspective, we can definitely help them define success. And that's what your purpose is. Your purpose is to work with these families to get to their next level. And in the process, we achieve our targets as well. So, guys, stop doing that. And the other reason why I realized I needed to start this family was because I realized there are a lot of non-practitioners, people who don't know anything about insurance, giving training advices. And that kind of irritates me, because if you have never been in the field, you have never sat down with a client and had that emotional one-on-one conversation, understood what the client is trying to say. If you have not had that, what are you training me on? Right? And that's the reason why I said a practitioner should be sharing more data with other practitioners. So guys, learn to share your best practices. That was the third most important reason of creating this. Because I realized we have a lot of non-practitioners that are teaching what they think is the right ideology, which might completely contradict with real life. So I wanted that first, right? Our clients actually truly believe that we are salesy and pushy. And the reason is because we are focusing on the product and not the purpose. Guys, products will come, products will go, products will change. What doesn't change is good advice. Please understand that. I'm sure all of you have a favorite product. I'm sure all of you have a favorite strategy. But I can promise you, I've been in this business now for over 20 years. I can promise you one thing. I have seen products change. I have seen strategies change. But what has not changed is the way I give advice to my clients. My job is to stick to the plan. The journey will change from A product to B product to C product, but the plan does not change. And that's a very, very important thing. So I have a few disclaimers that I want to talk about, right? My team actually told me, so my marketing team who has put this whole thing together, they said, Sanjay, why don't we charge for this session? Now, let me be very open with you guys. There's a reason why I charge for the session. This is not my business. All the money from this goes to charity. The reason why I charge is because I don't like to be taken for granted. But what I realized is I kept having these messages coming that, Sanjay, can you do a free training session for us? Can you please get us the basics so that I can become better in this profession? And Sanjay, if you are trying to make the industry better, why not do it for free? And I don't mind doing it. The only problem is I was getting taken for granted. And that's the reason why I started putting a price tag to it. But today I wanted to spend a little bit time because I realized a lot of new advisors have joined our profession over the last 2 years. And I've not had the opportunity to interact with these new advisors. So I wanted to make sure that these new advisors that have joined our profession are joining for the right reason. They provide the correct advice to their clients, because I don't want them affecting the reputation of our profession just because of these 2 years. And I know a lot of new advisors have joined our profession. So welcome to the family, guys. Absolutely. Welcome to the family. There's a lot of work to be done for all of us. So I'm not really worried about more people joining the profession. I'm just worried about the quality of advice that you give. So I would rather be teaching you that you have consistent quality across multiple countries, not just one country. And that's the reason why I'm doing this session, to make sure that there's consistent advice being provided worldwide. We have to learn to be consistent as a profession. If you have one advisor saying X and you have another advisor saying Y, without giving the justification, without being consistent with the same strategy, we have a problem. It confuses our clients on how to actually do financial planning. So we need to get our financial planning to have a consistent strategy, build the right system, right? So that you've got consistent flow of business into your practice. And that was the purpose of doing today's session, is getting that consistency of information disclosure at the advisor level, at the client level, and at the level of a family, so that they understand why we do what we do. Okay, this session was specifically designed for new advisors. So for those of you who already know the theories and frameworks, I'll be sharing some case studies on how those theories and framework work, and maybe give you a little different perspective to what you already know. Now, it's also important that if there is a strategy or a theory that I've shared in this session and you're not aware about it, guys, you might have missed out something on the basics that you need to relook at. You don't have to tell me about it, but I need you all to analyze that for yourself. That if there's a strategy or a theory that I'm sharing today, which is quite basic, and you have not heard about it, or you haven't implemented that in your practice, that might be a gap in your foundation. So have a look at that, right? And by the way, guys, this is not an upsell webinar where you're going to come here and then say, I'm not going to spend this session telling you how one advisor got Y results, and if you buy this, you will fly in your life and you will change your life. No, no, no. This is not an upsell webinar. I'm not a trainer. Let's get that very clear, guys. I'm not a trainer. I'm a mentor. I do definitely advise people on how to run their practices, but that is as a mentor, not as a trainer. So let's get that very clear. That's a very, very important disclaimer. And that's why I wanted to cover this before we even started the session. One of the things that we don't get is the difference between sales and financial planning knowledge. So a lot of people tell me, Sanjay, what's the difference between sales and financial planning knowledge? You see, sales allows you to close more clients. So if you have the right sales skill set, you will close more clients. But if you understand financial planning knowledge, you will be able to give better advice and be more confident. And that's the difference. A lot of people are great salespeople, but do they provide the correct advice? They might be closing higher cases, but are they giving the right advice to those clients? You see, good sales strategies allows you to be successful short term, but having the right financial planning knowledge with the right sales skill set allows you to be successful long term. It allows you to build a career. It allows you to build a business in the world of financial planning. And that's very important. And that's why I want to spend today's session on financial planning knowledge rather than sales skills. Get one thing clear. When I joined this business, I did not even know what were the different types of knowledge that I need to have. I just thought insurance is one product, I sell it, I'll earn money. Retirement planning is a product, I sell it, I earn money. Critical illness is a product, I sell it, I earn money. Disability is a product, I sell it, I earn money. Children education is a product, I sell it, I earn money. That's what I thought. That's the truth, guys. But when I sat down with my mentor showed me 4 different aspects to financial planning. He told me there are 4 areas of specialization: family office management, asset management, corporate financial planning, and risk management. Now, it took me 3 to 4 years to study each one of them and practice it and apply it. So, if you think that you've been in this business 2 years and you know everything, you're already wrong. Guys, there's a lot to upskill on. Till today, I'm spending time and money to increase my knowledge. Till today, I'm still studying what are the different levels and different strategies that I could change for my clients. So if you've been in this business for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years and you think you already know everything, guys, you're absolutely wrong. Please don't have that ego to accept the fact that there's a lot more to learn. And that's why I even created the Big Case Closer. So all my mentees who are in the Big Case Closer program, guys, I want you all to understand. Learn to identify the specialization that you want to spend time learning and implementing over the next 3 to 4 years. It's not something that will happen just in 6 months. It's not something that will just happen in 2 months. It's something that you have to learn over a period of time. Test it, try it, identify what's going wrong, identify your pitfalls, because we will make mistakes. We are human. I don't expect you all to master an art in 5 minutes. I don't. We all are humans. It will take time to learn. It will take time to implement. It will take time to master. But learn to keep upgrading your skills. Learn to keep upgrading your knowledge. Learn to keep upgrading on how to get to that next level. And that's what was the purpose of today's session. I wanted to make sure that you guys get good financial planning advice. Copy paste it. It will work in the short run, but it won't work in the long run. So I need you all to learn how to give genuine good advice. I want to make sure that you understand a quick overview of all the complicated financial planning strategies. Make it simple. So I'm going to teach you simple ways of explaining that. And I want you all to have a lot more confidence and become a trustworthy financial advisor. Because your confidence will automatically lead to trust that your clients have with you. It allows you to see things differently. Your level of confidence opens up eyes. Think about that, right? And there was one thing that I really want to tell you that I've realized, that some advisors are not giving good advice. So I keep asking myself, why? Are they not giving good advice because they don't want to give good advice? Or are they not giving good advice because they don't know how to give good advice? Because if you're giving bad advice because you want to, I can't stop that. That's pure ethics, right? That's your personal choice. But if you want to give good advice but you don't know how to do it, I can help you with that. That I can help with. So if you feel that you want to give good advice but you don't know how to, I can help you with that. But if you know the knowledge and you don't give good advice, that's purely ethical based. It's a personal choice. It's nothing that I can change. There's a saying that my father taught me many, many years ago. Sanjay, if someone is sleeping, you can shake them and wake them up. But if someone is pretending to sleep, even if you slap them, they won't get up, right? So if there's an advisor that I feel, as an advisor, if you feel you're sleeping and you want to wake up, I can help you with that. But if you're pretending to sleep, whatever I do, you will still not wake up. So I can't even do anything on that. I can't stop that. Today, there are 6 things that I do want to cover. So I'll be talking about one winning presentation that allows you to start in this business, a presentation that works across, a presentation that allows you to talk about all the financial planning products in one presentation. Number 2, I'll be talking about the 2 different types of income, guaranteed and variable. And I want you to understand the difference between the 2 types of income. Number 3, I'm going to share with you 3 questions that you can ask your clients to be able to judge what kind of advice you should give your clients. It will help you put your clients in the right strategy, right? So there are only 3 questions you have to ask your clients. And if you know the answer to these 3 questions, you can give specific advice to those clients, right? Number 4, I'm going to teach you the 4 rules of thumb and the 4 products that we focus our energy on. So you need to make sure you know what you're spending your time and where you're spending your energy. So there are 4 products that you need to spend your time on. So I will cover those 4. I'm going to talk about the 5 different types of assets that you can invest your money in, right? So we're going to cover the 5 basic assets where you can invest your money. And the last is I'm going to talk about the 6 different sources of income that you can have in your financial plan. And that's why we call this the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 basics of financial planning. Because if you get the 1 presentation, the 2 types of income, the 3 questions you need to ask, the 4 rules of thumb, the 5 assets, and the 6 types of income, you've got your basics in order. And that is the purpose of today's session. So if you think there's a financial advisor out there who needs to be watching this, add them to this session. Tell them to join in. It is not something that they should be missing out on. Because I've realized there are a lot of advisors who don't know the basics. So if you know of a friend that should be listening to this, right now. Send them a message and tell them join the session so that they get it and they understand it. All right, guys. Now, I'm going to talk about my favorite presentation. And this one presentation has worked for me for a very long time. This presentation is valid even today. This presentation is one of the best opening conversations for clients globally. And this is my 28,000 presentation. So when I started doing this presentation, it was roughly about 15 years ago when I really started using this presentation. And this presentation allowed me to help clients understand how financial planning works throughout their life. So for every stage of this presentation, every stage of life, what are the ways to do financial planning? That's what I covered in this presentation. It talked about all the 4 products, but it was only one concept. Guys, when I created the word concept presentation, right, it did not even exist as a word. Concept presentation is just to differentiate my presentations from other product presentations. Because all of us are taught product presentations, but we are not taught concepts, why and how the product works. So we all focus on products rather than why they need to do financial planning. And that's what this presentation is about. This presentation allows you to talk about why they need to do financial planning. This video is already on YouTube. The 28,000 presentation is already on YouTube. You can go and watch it for free. All right. This one presentation starts very simply. It starts with a question that I ask my clients. What is your lucky number? Right? And most of my clients will give me a lucky number. Some will say 10, 12, 8. When I speak to the Chinese, they always tell me 888. When I speak to a lot of the Hindus, they tell me it's 108. A lot of the Muslims tell me 786. People tell me 13 is unlucky, 9 is lucky, 7 is lucky. But what I realized, numbers have always played an important role in everyone's life. All of us are looking forward to our birthday number, right? This presentation is about 28,000. 28,000 is the average number of days a person lives. Now, that's approximately 80 years. I like to break this into 4 parts, right? 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, and 60 to 80. 0 to 20, what do we usually do? We study, we play, we fool around. That's what we do from 0 to 20. 20 to 40, what happens? We get our first job. We get married. We have our children. We probably buy a new house. We buy a new car. Right? It's the start of our journey. 40 to 60, we need to understand we might have changed our career. We might have started a business. We would have probably bought another house because as an investment. Our kids are finishing their first part of life. Our kids are getting ready to graduate. We can't afford a second wife, so we just go on to buying a second car. Now, 60 to 80, we tend to retire. Now, if you think about it, 0 to 20 and 40 to 60, these are 2 quadrants of the circle. 0 to 20 and 40 to 60, 60 to 80, we have no income. That's almost half our life. So we started with 28,000 days. We all left with only 14,000 days. Think about it. Ladies and gentlemen, all of us only have 14,000 days to achieve all our dreams. Our kids' dreams, our parents' dreams, whatever dreams we have 14,000 days to achieve it. Now, if you're anywhere in your 30s or 40s, right, you've probably got 7,000 days left. Think about it. If you're in your 30s and 40s, that's all you got, 7,000 days left. And during this period of time, we've identified 4 fears. My first fear is, what if I cannot work to 60? You see, what if I cannot work? That's my first fear. Because if I can work, I can achieve my dreams. Think about it. But what if you cannot work? My second fear is, what if I pass away? If I pass away between that period of time, what happens? My third fear is, how much is enough to retire? How much is enough to retire? $5 million, $10 million, $100 million? How much is enough to retire? Because if you think about it, if $5 million was enough, then whoever has $5 million should have retired. If 10 million was enough, then whoever has $10 million should have retired. Do you realize they work harder? So there must be the correct strategy for retirement. It's not just about the money. And my fourth fear is, how do I ensure that my children start life with the right foundation? How do I ensure that my children start life with the right foundation? And the best foundation for a child is a good education. We have agreed on that. So I realized all these four questions lead to the four products that we work on. Think about it. It's a very simple presentation. If you want to learn how to do this presentation, go and watch the video on YouTube. It's live, it's free. You can just go and watch it. Don't worry about that. Guys, every single thing that I share with you is applicable even today. It's applicable because it works. Even today, this is the simplest conversation that you can have with your client. And if you're not having this conversation with your client, you're losing out on the opportunity of giving good advice. It's not about the product. This presentation doesn't talk about a product. This presentation doesn't talk about a company. This presentation doesn't talk about rates of return, risks. It doesn't talk about that. It talks about what financial planning is about. And that's the key that I need you all to understand. How many of you have not even heard about the 28,000 presentation? Could you just type it out? Could you just put it in the chat box? Sanjay, I've not even heard this presentation. I'd love to know, right? It helps me understand how many of you are prepared with just that basic. How many of you have never heard about my 28,000 presentation? Would you mind just saying, I haven't? All right, great. I'm just looking at all the comments, and that's the reason why I'm here. Wow. All right. So, guys, for those of you who have not heard about this presentation, I'm going to make sure that someone puts in the link for you to have a look at this presentation. It's the best presentation. It allows you to have a very simple conversation with every client that you meet. If you learn this presentation, it will allow you to give advice without talking even about the product. It's about giving good financial planning advice. So this presentation is specifically about giving good financial planning advice even before we get to the product, and we talk about numbers and we talk about risks and returns and the insurance company. All that comes separate. This presentation will get the concept across on why they need to do financial planning, because the why is strong. Why you need to do financial planning is done. Then the how, the what, the which is very easy to handle. All right. So great. For those of you who haven't, I'm going to make sure that somebody from my team puts up the link for you to watch it right now. All right. Save that link. You can watch it later. Keep watching it. It works very well. Now, let's come to the second point, right? There are two types of income that I want to focus on. So a lot of people that I work with, they keep telling me, Sanjay, what type of income should I have? And I want you all to think about this. How many of you would prefer guaranteed income over variable income? So there are two types of income. Either the income is guaranteed, or number two, the income is variable. Now, how many of you would prefer guaranteed income, and how many of you would prefer variable income? Think about this. How many of you would prefer guaranteed income, and how many of you would prefer variable income? Can you just write this down? Can you just write down guaranteed or variable? So just type it in the chat box. Would you prefer guaranteed income or variable income? Okay, so we've got some people saying variable. Okay, some people are saying guaranteed. Excellent, guaranteed. Can I have both? I like that one. I would like a mixture of both. Great. Okay, Praful says a mixture of both. Sorry about that. Okay, we've got people saying variable. All right. Great. And that's what I want you all to understand, right? We will all say, I want a little bit guaranteed and I want a little bit variable. And that's what I want to talk about. So, what is guaranteed income? Guaranteed income is any product, right, or any asset class that gives consistent income without you having to work for it, right? That's what we call true passive income. Income that comes consistently without you having to monitor it, and it just comes into your bank account. That is guaranteed income. Variable income is any type of income where you have to constantly monitor. You have to make sure that they're fulfilling their commitments. You have to make sure that things are working in your favor. It's what we call active income. Now, some are a combination of both. So, for example, rental income from property. Is that guaranteed or is that variable? Rental income from property is guaranteed during the period of tenancy. But as soon as your tenant leaves the property, all of a sudden your income becomes variable. So it's a combination of guaranteed and variable. It's not only guaranteed and it's not only variable. Income from fixed deposits, right? Is that guaranteed or is that variable? As long as the fixed deposit tenure is there, it's guaranteed. But as soon as the fixed deposit matures, all of a sudden your income becomes variable. So you have something called reinvestment risk. So guys, when I sit down with a client and we talk about guaranteed and variable income, these are the objections that I get. They keep talking about the different types of assets that give different types of income, but they don't understand the difference between variable and guaranteed. They assume a lot of variable income is guaranteed when actually it's not. So is rental income guaranteed? It's not, it's variable. Is fixed deposit income guaranteed? Not really, it's variable. Is income from a bond portfolio guaranteed? Not really, it's variable. So you have a lot of risks that come with all these things. So it's about understanding what these incomes are. As then another question that comes up is, who is this income for? When should you be focusing on guaranteed and when should you be focusing on variable income? And this is where demographic plays a very important role. How old you are, your gender, your family circumstances, all these factors will affect, should you be focusing more on guaranteed or more on variable? Think about this. As you become older, you want your variable income to get converted to guaranteed income because assets in old age become a liability. Assets in old age become a liability. Please keep this in mind, guys. Assets in old age become a liability. The only true asset in old age is guaranteed income. The only true asset in old age is a guaranteed income. Remember this. So, who is this for? As you start your career, variable income is a good way to start. But you need to learn to start converting more and more variable income into guaranteed income. So I actually wrote this down. I'm talking about the ABCD of retirement planning. All right. ABCD strategy. I'll be covering this a lot. I'll be covering this in a few more slides. But the ABCD strategy is the aggressive, balanced, cautious, and defensive strategy. Now, each of these strategies have a certain period of time that you need to follow because your age will determine which part of A, B, C, or D you should be on. Age is a very important factor in the kind of advice that you give to your clients. The younger your client, the more risk they can take. The older your client, the less risk they should be taking because they don't have enough time to recover from losses. So think about this, right? This is some of the most basic advice that you can give. Which products work with guaranteed and variable income? All right. So if you're looking at products, your endowments and annuities come into the guaranteed space. Your investment link, your ILPs, come into the variable space. So if you're working on portfolio bonds, you're working on ILPs, you're working on wealth accounts, that usually comes into the variable space. But you're working on endowments and annuities, whole of life, it usually comes into the guaranteed space. Now, the best part is we can do a combination of both. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. So what concepts work when we talk about guaranteed income and variable income? My favorite concept that works when we talk about income is the flow of water presentation. That's my favorite presentation, right? So guys, if you haven't seen my flow of water presentation, can you please put that over here? That Sanjay, I've not seen your flow of water presentation. Guys, if you haven't seen the flow of water presentation, just put it down in the chat so I know exactly how many of you have seen it and how many of you have not seen it, right? So just say, I have not seen it. So that I can share that with you, all right? So this is how it starts. Mr. Client, you are a lake. As a lake, think about it, right? This is how water flows. A lake becomes a river, and that river goes and joins the ocean. The water in the ocean evaporates, it becomes clouds, it goes back on top of the mountain, it becomes a rainfall, it again becomes another lake. And that lake becomes a river, and that river comes back and joins the ocean. That's what we call the flow of water. That's exactly how money flows. You, Mr. Client, is the lake. You have a river of income. This river of income is going and joining into the ocean of wealth for your family. Your next generation will inherit this ocean of wealth and it'll become a lake for them. And then they will create a river of income, which will then go and join the ocean of wealth for the next generation. And this process continues from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next. This process just continues. Now, if one generation doesn't pass on the ocean of wealth to the next generation, what happens? Nothing. The next generation just restarts with another lake and they rebuild their own lake. And they will then build their own river of income. So just because you don't pass on the ocean of wealth to the next generation, it doesn't stop. The flow of water and the flow of money continues. But let me ask you this one question. Would you like your river of income to be variable or guaranteed? Once you ask this question, stop. You need to learn to have the right pause. You need to have your clients thinking about this question because it's a very important question. Would you like your river of income to be variable or guaranteed? Now, some people will tell you, Sanjay, I like it to be variable. Some will say, Sanjay, I like it to be guaranteed. And I tell them, both of them are very important. Guaranteed ensures there's always some water in the river. Variable makes sure that when you have a good season, the river is properly funded and flooded. So you have to learn to keep a good combination of both. Guaranteed all is not good. All variable is not good. It's about finding the right combination of the two. You need to learn to have the best of both worlds. A little bit of guaranteed and a little bit of variable to make sure you have the perfect combination. So if you have a guaranteed flow of income, that's amazing. The variable flow of income allows you to adjust for inflation. It allows you to adjust for lifestyle changes. It allows you to adjust for market circumstances, right? So there are a lot of things that come as an advantage to variable income. But there are a lot of advantages to guaranteed income. Number one, it's consistent income. It never stops coming. I mean, that's the perfect plan, right? You have an income that never stops coming, and that's guaranteed income. So these are the two most common types of income, guaranteed and variable. And if you understand this, it's about giving the best advice. Have I spoken about a single product yet? Not yet. Have I spoken about a single insurance company? Not. What have I given is good advice. Ladies and gentlemen, please understand something. I'm not here to tell you just how to sell, but I'm also here to teach you how to give good advice to your clients. If you haven't seen this presentation, please go and watch it. It's on YouTube. It's for free. Just go and watch it. Spend some time to educate yourself on the different strategies that are used by practitioners to become better in our profession. All right. The flow of water presentation is a very simple presentation that allows you to discuss these both type of incomes. All right. Now, number three, right? I love this. By the way, I have written these 3 questions in the financial planning playbook. So if you haven't downloaded the financial planning playbook, go and download it. All right. It's a very simple book. The financial planning playbook, I only ask 3 questions. And if you can answer these 3 questions for me, I can tell you exactly the advice that I would be giving you. And I've written this down in the book. All right. Go and download the financial planning playbook. It's a very simple book to read. It's a guide on how to do financial planning. And there are only 3 questions you have to answer for me. My first question: are you married? If they say yes, then we move forward. The next question is: do you have an income? If they say yes, we move forward. Do you have dependents? If they say yes. Now, think about this. This is the client profile. They're married, they have an income, and they have dependents. What advice would you give to this family? 3 questions. That's all I need to know to be able to give good advice. Are you married? Do you have an income? And do you have any dependents? Dependents could be children, could be parents. It doesn't matter. These are the only 3 variables that I need to know to be able to give good advice. I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about numbers. I'm just talking about plain good advice. I'm not talking about product. I'm not talking about insurance company. I'm talking about plain good advice. If you're married, you need to protect your spouse. If you have dependents, you need to protect your dependents. And if you have an income, you need to protect your income. That's it. If you're not married, right, you don't have an income and you don't have dependents, all right? If you're not married, which let's look at the extreme case on the other side. You're not married, you don't have an income, and you have no dependents. So my first question to you: what are you doing with your life? Think about it. You're not married, you have no income, you have no dependents. What are you doing with your life? What's the purpose of your life? It has nothing to do with financials. It's purely about helping them identify what's the purpose of their life. Think about it. You're not married, you don't have an income, you have no dependents. What's the purpose of your life? Help them find a purpose. There are only 3 things we need to worry about. If you have a spouse to be protected, you protect them. If you have an income, you need to protect it, protect it. If you don't have an income, your spouse has an income, we need to protect that income because you're dependent on that income. It's as simple as that. Let me ask you a question. If you're single, do you need life insurance? Probably not. If you don't have dependents and you're single, you probably don't need life insurance. For a very simple reason: if you die, probably nobody cares either, right? Think about it. What you definitely need is a very good income protection plan. Because if your income stops, you will become a burden on society. You'll become a burden on the balanced family members. And that's what you don't want to be. So one of the best advice that you can give to single working people is make sure you have a very good income protection and you have a fantastic retirement plan. That's it. They probably don't need life insurance. Unless they want to leave a legacy or they want to create some charitable fund after they're gone, they probably don't need life insurance. So it's about giving good advice. It's not about selling a product, but it's about giving good advice. And I wrote this down in my book so that you can copy it, you can paste it, you can share this with your friends, you can share this with your clients, you can share this with your family. Let's get the basics of financial planning across to everyone around us. Guys, we need to share the basics of financial planning so that our clients can do it themselves. We live in the DIY era, right? Do it yourself. We live in that era. Our clients want to feel empowered about money. It's our duty to allow them to make financial decisions on the advice that we provide. It's our job to give the best advice. It's not your job to push them to take your advice. And that's one very important thing in financial planning. It's not about pushing your clients to make a decision, but it's allowing them to make a decision by giving them the information that they need to make that informed decision. And these 3 questions is all you need to know. So instead of going around doing 12-page fact finds and 10-page fact finds, learn to ask these only 3 questions. Mr. Client, I only need to know 3 questions. Are you married? Do you have an income? And do you have any dependents? If you have a yes to any of these, I know exactly what to do. If you have a no to any of these, I know exactly what not to do. And that's it. And I've broken this down in the book. So there are only 8 profiles of clients that you will be working with. Only 8. All right. And I've written that down for you. Just go download the book. All right. Number 4. And I love this. And I feel I cannot tell you how important this is in our business. You see, guys, when I joined into this business, I realized that there was no consistent advice being given across the world. Every advisor was giving different advice. And I wanted to make sure that we can get consistent advice. We only have 4 products in our business. So I know a lot of you think we've got a lot of products in our business. We don't. I know some of you think, oh, Sanjay, but I've got 16 products in my business. I've got 30 products in my company. I've got 20 products in my company. Guys, we only have 4 products. Number 1, you die, I pay. You fall sick, I pay. You retire, I pay. Your kids go to college, I pay. There is no 5th product. There is no insurance for afterlife. I'm not going to do anything for you in heaven or hell. All right? You die, I pay. You fall sick, I pay. You retire, I pay. Your kids go to college, I pay. There are only 4 products in our business. And there are only 4 rules of thumb for these 4 products. Number 1, for insurance, you need 10 times of annual income as life insurance. That's the rule of thumb. It will change a little bit depending on your family circumstances, etc. But if you do 10 times of annual income, you've pretty much done what you need to do. All right. It's not 100% accurate, but it's a good rule of thumb. It's just like saying, how many steps do you need to walk every day? 10,000 steps is the rule of thumb. But if you do between 8 to 12,000, that's good enough, right? You can do a little bit less, you can do a little bit more, depending on how much you eat for that day, right? You might have eaten too little, do 8,000 steps. If you've eaten too much, do 12,000 steps. So it comes down to that rule of thumb. How much water should you drink every day? 8 to 10 glasses of water every day. If you drink too much, it's not good for you. If you drink too little, it's not good for you. So it's the rule of thumb. So it's the same in our profession. We have to have a rule of thumb that our clients can refer to when it comes to financial planning. And why do we not share this rule of thumb with clients around the world? Guys, we need to have consistent advice as advisors. All right. And the rule of thumb for life insurance is 10 times of annual income. The rule of thumb for critical illness, or what we call income protection due to illness, is 5 times of annual income. Think about it. All right. Usually when someone has a critical illness, it takes them about 5 to 7 years to come back to work. So the rule of thumb is 5 to 7. Now, if you have a very specialized job, maybe I'll tell you to buy a little bit more. If you have a very generic job, I might tell you to buy a little bit less. But the rule of thumb is 5 times. How much money should you save for retirement? The rule of thumb is 20% of whatever you earn. So if you earn $10,000, 20% is $2,000. If you earn $1,000, 20% is $200. If you earn 0, 20% of 0 is 0, guys. All right. So if you're not earning any money, I don't expect you to save. But if you're earning even $1,000, you need to save a 20%. Get very clear on that. All right. That's the third most important rule of thumb. You get a bonus at the end of the year. How much should you save? When you get a bonus at the end of the year, you should be saving 100%. Because the bonus was never part of your financial plan. Think about it. Your bonus was never part of your financial spending habit. Because that was a jackpot. It just happened to come. All right. I know some of you are thinking, wait a second, but Sanjay, I got a bonus. I want to splurge a little bit. All right. Then save 20%. Save 20% of whatever you earn so that you can maintain your lifestyle. All right. It's a simple rule of thumb. How much money should you save for your kids' education? And I love this one the most because every time I sit down with a financial advisor, they tell me, Sanjay, shouldn't we be predicting what they want to study, where they want to study, what is the current cost of education, adjusted for inflation? Think about it. That's what we do. By the time we do all this calculation and we give a number to our clients, the number is so scary that our clients say, you know what, forget it. My kids don't need to study. Who the hell is going to pay so much for education? Think about it. Imagine today the cost of education example is $100,000. All right. You inflation adjusted for 15 years at 3 or 4% inflation rate. It becomes a number that becomes so big that our clients get scared of that number. And what happens? They don't even make the decision to start saving money. Now, let me ask all of you this question. And this is an objection I get from a lot of my clients today. Sanjay, I believe in the future education will be free. And are they wrong to say that? Think about it. Sanjay, I believe in the future education will be free. So I know you keep saying that education will become more expensive. I think in the future education will be free. And I tell this to my clients. Mr. Client, you are absolutely correct. Even I believe in the future education will be free. But what if we are wrong? What if we are wrong? What if education does continue to become expensive as it is? What if we are wrong? You see, if education is free, then the money you saved is yours. If education has become more expensive, thank God we have saved some money to support. All right. And there's a simple rule of thumb on how much to save for education. It's 5% of whatever you earn. So just put it aside. If education is free, you can use that for yourself. If education is expensive, thank God we have saved that money. What difference does it make? I'm just telling you to remove money from your right pocket, put it into your left pocket. I'm just telling you to remove 5% from one pocket, put it into your next pocket. That's all I'm telling you to do. And in case something happens to you in between, I take care of it. I make sure that your children have the right education. That's my job. It's simple rules of thumb. And guys, if we all continue to give consistent advice, our clients will not get confused. The biggest problem that I see today in our profession is that all of us are not giving consistent advice. And I need that to change. Your basic advice has to be consistent. And then after that, there is specific advice. Specifically for your family, this is what I would recommend. Specifically for your business, this is what I would recommend. Specifically for you, this is what I would recommend. But in general, our advice needs to be consistent. And that's why this basic financial planning workshop is so important, so that we have our basic consistent advice done. If you're not giving consistent advice, it only means as a profession, we don't know what we're doing. And that's what differentiates a good advisor from a bad advisor. Consistency of advice. Keep this in mind, guys. The differentiation between a good advisor and a bad advisor is consistency of advice that is given. And I've done my PhD in this. I've spent 19 years at university studying the correct way to give proper financial planning advice. So just share what I'm sharing with you. Use this. Please help your clients make the right decision. Don't force them to do it. Don't push them to do it, but it's your duty to provide that information. All right? It's very simple. It's the rule of thumb. Now, I've already put this up also on YouTube. Think about it. You know, in 2018, when I started the Sanjay Mentoring Family, I realized that everyone was giving different advice. And it made all of us look bad, right? So I got my marketing team to very aggressively push and promote the rule of thumb so that we can all become consistent with the advice in the market. And that's what I made them do. And I realized that the rule of thumb has existed for a very long time. So I'm not saying that this is a new strategy. No, 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 no. Please get this correct. This rule of thumb has existed for a very, very long time. It just was in different, packaged in a different form or in a different financial theory. So this rule of thumb is not something that I created. It's existed for a very long time. I'm only putting it out in a way that you can understand. If you study financial theory, you will get exactly the same rules of thumb from other financial theories. I'm just simplified it for my clients to understand, because our clients don't have time to read financial papers. Our clients don't have the time to sit and get an education in finance. That's our job. And I did that. I simplified it for my clients. And that's why I named it the rules of thumb, so that it's easy for you to explain it to your clients. So when you tell your clients, right, this is what I give you as basic recommendation or initial advice, it's based on the rules of thumb of our profession. Now, the other reason for creating this rule of thumb was it allows you to transition from the concept to the product. How do you move from a concept to a product? We use the rules of thumb, right? Mr. Client, you just need 10 times of annual income as life insurance. That's the rule of thumb. And we transition to the product, which is life insurance. Or you need 5 times of annual income as critical illness. And it allows me to transition to the critical illness product or the income protection due to illness. You need to save 20% of whatever you earn for your retirement. All right. And then we go into retirement planning as a product. So it allows you to transition from a concept to a product. And that's what I wanted to solve for a lot of financial advisors, because they were stuck at the concept and not being able to transition to a product. And that's where the rule of thumb became such an easy way to create that transition bridge between concept and product. All right. And after I've done this now for almost 4 years that I've been doing this. And after spending 4 years, I put it up on YouTube so that all of you can watch it. You can refresh your memory. If you have questions about it, you can go and look at it. I've done a lot of free YouTube videos for you to be able to watch and learn from. Use that information, guys. Get your basics clear. Because if you want to be confident in this business, use the knowledge that's consistent across our profession. We as advisors have the duty to give our best advice to our clients. And you need to learn to give the best generic advice before you are allowed to give them specific advice. Once your clients trust you, they will give you personal specific details, which will allow you to streamline your advice in a better way. But at first, your clients want general financial advice. Learn to give good quality general financial advice before you know the specifics about their family, their business, their individuality, their work. And then you can actually structure a specific model just for them. That's very, very important. All right. For those of you who are already coming for the 50 concepts and prospecting workshop, I'll be sharing a lot more strategies with you in that workshop. All right. So I'm really looking forward to that, because I'll be sharing a lot of ideas that are more on the advanced level, and I want you all to understand advanced strategies. So I'll be sharing that. But I want all of you all to get your basics correct before you come to that advanced workshop. I mean, the concept presentation word was not even coined till 2018. We coined that because I realized we're all focusing on products. All right. Now, guys, I've been talking already for a while. I do want to take a quick break so that I can just bring some water. And I want all of you all to freshen up, make some notes, write down your questions. And I want you all to think about the questions you want to ask. So let's take a quick break and we'll all come back and we'll continue with this. All right. So let's take a quick break now, guys.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Sanjay. We'll take a quick break for about 15 minutes or so. The team actually has a video for them to show you. Because a lot of people have been asking about the Big Case Closer program for 2022. So this is just a little bit of information about that for those that are interested. At the same time, also, please make sure that you still have your PDF notes. You can download that from the pinned chat or the pinned comment in the live chat that's going on right now. So please get that as well. And also, probably
where we'll be covering. Ask yourself, how different are you from other advisors in the market? How can you stand out and get prospects to come to you for advice instead? To help you with that, we're going to create a specialized branding material for you so you can stand out and be found online. But that's not enough. You need to specialize, something 90% of advisors don't know how to enter into. I'll explore higher levels of financial planning with you by helping you choose from either family office, risk management, asset management, or corporate financial planning as your specialization track. With specialization, you will now stand out from your peers because of your specialization. You will also gain the right knowledge and network to handle cases that are 10 times larger than usual. Once your basics are clear and you have the unique competitive advantage, you're now ready to go out and meet richer prospects. But imagine meeting your prospects and they come back with a list of objections, tough questions, and issues you cannot handle. What would you do? That's what phase 3 is all about. Coaching and Q&A with you so that you don't feel lost and are confident to handle every high net worth you meet. On a monthly basis, I will organize a Q&A session to help clarify all problems members have. If you feel there is something you don't want others to know, that's completely okay too. Just reach out to the relationship manager and I'll privately answer them for you. If you don't have any questions, just listening to case studies from other members will bring you a whole new level in the industry. You get to open your eyes to the world of financial planning by seeing how others are closing big cases in real life. So what's the outcome? Well, you will be now a lot more clearer and more confident on how to apply your newly acquired big case closing skill set. Something new I wanted to introduce in 2022 is the quarterly planning session. On a quarterly basis, the family will come together to do a quarterly planning session so that everyone is clear about their target for the upcoming quarter. And you're feeling unmotivated and need a listening ear, you always have a family to share with. If I ever stop the learning phase here, this would already be the most comprehensive program for advisors in the market. But I want to do more for the Big Case Closer family. I want to give you my support, which is phase 4. The biggest problem when coming to the big cases is you panic or get lost when you really get that opportunity. That is why when you have a potential prospect that can close maybe 100,000 case size, and when you're completely lost and don't know what to do, you can leverage on my team and see if they can assist you. Think of it like a special helpline that I've created only for the BCC members to reach out whenever they need to. With this, you no longer lose cases just because you don't know how to handle it. Instead, a team of professionals is on standby to ensure your cases have a higher chance of success. The Big Case Closer program has only one goal: to teach you how to close bigger cases so that you can earn more income for yourself. Every year, close to 2,000 advisors worldwide apply to be a part of the Big Case Closer family, but only a small handful of them are selected to be part of this process. In 2020 and 2021, more than 300 advisors worldwide have seen results via the Big Case Closer family, and I'm confident that we now have an even clearer roadmap to help you get results faster and quicker than ever. If you're serious about improving your commissions, please apply early to avoid disappointments. In fact, we are limiting the number of people to be able to be a part of this program because I want every member to have that competitive advantage in the industry. So click on the button to apply, and I look forward to holding your hand step by step to close your first big case ever. Remember, the moment you close one big case using the BCC closing strategies, you will already make back multiple times of your investment.
All right, we just ended the video. So thank you for coming back, everybody. We'll get Dr. Sanjay to come on and start again for the next half of today's session. Dr. Sanjay, you good?
Yup. Hey guys. All right.
Perfect.
So guys, I did want to share something with you. Sorry, during this break, I had a few client calls. Actually, very interestingly, I got a call from a client from Romania. And I thought I will share with him a few strategies that I was just talking to you about. And I said, I'm talking about the basics of financial planning. It is a very good way to start conversations. Guys, when you up your skills, when you share strategies, when you learn something new, learn to share that with your clients. It's a fantastic way to start a conversation, right? I do the same thing with my clients. I would call them up, or they would, whenever they call me, I would tell them, I was in a session, I learned this, and I thought it'll be useful for you. And share that concept, or share that idea, or share that strategy that allowed you to become better. Now, for those of you, I know I did notice some questions where people were asking that, Sanjay, what if I'm not able to watch this video live while you're doing it? Guys, I have told my team to put this video up into the group for at least the next 24 hours. So you would have access to this video for the next 24 hours. If you have got friends or advisors who you think should be watching this video, share the link with them and let them definitely watch it. Like I said, the whole purpose of this session was to provide knowledge on financial planning, which would allow you to be more confident when you are doing your sales and sitting down with your clients, right? So that was the whole purpose of doing this session. So now we have covered the 1, 2, 3, 4 of financial planning. Now I do want to cover the 5 and the 6. Now, when we talk about the 5 and the 6, there are 5 types of assets. And every time I sit down with a client, right, they're comparing one asset to the other. Let's write down, all of you should know this. There are 5 types of assets that you need to focus on. And these are the 5 basic types of assets: equities, or what we call business value; property; commodities and collectibles; bonds; and cash. That's it. There are only 5 asset classes. The others are what we call hybrids. That would be a combination of one of these assets. But these are your 5 basic asset classes: equities, properties, commodities, bonds, and cash. Now, each one of these assets have a different risk and return standard. You can't compare one to another. They all have a different purpose. And one of the biggest mistakes that our clients make, and even we make, is we compare ourselves to one of these assets. Each one of these assets have a different purpose and a different strategy. Think about this. Equities. So when you talk about equity investments talk, or equity as an asset class, provides capital growth, it provides income, it provides the variability of markets, so it can fluctuate significantly, but it can have a lot more growth. So it's a high return kind of an asset. That high return comes with high risk. But why do people do equity investments? It's quite simple. They want to play the markets. They want to understand, they truly believe that in the long term, the markets will outperform global standards. Now, equities in the past have always proved this true, as long as you have the capacity to hold. When do people lose money in equities? Couple of reasons. Number one, they don't have the holding capacity. Number two, they over leverage, right? So they can't, because they over leverage, they end up having very, very bad years. And those bad years can make sure that they lose their capital. So equities have a lot of advantages and disadvantages, and it's a separate asset class. Property, one of the favorite asset classes for retirement planning. So every time I sit down with a client, they tell me, Sanjay, I love to buy property. I like the rental income. So property has a certain purpose. Number one, it can be passed on from one generation to another. Number two, it provides some form of income in the way of rental income. All right. Number three, it can also appreciate in capital over a period of time. Now, usually, properties are a great way to hedge against inflation, because the value of your property usually increases with the value of inflation. If you ever see a real spike in property, it's because that is what we call an unusual spectrum. If you see a sudden downturn in property, again, that's an unusual spectrum. Over the long term, your property investment basically increases with inflation rates. All right. And that's the reality of the market. Studied it over many, many decades to give you this number. All right. So property has a certain advantage. One of the advantages a lot of people talk about, and especially a lot of my clients, is, Sanjay, when I have money blocked away in property, I don't spend it. All right. Now, that's actually one of the most common reasons why people buy property. They want to keep money that they don't want to spend. They want to keep money that they don't want to look at. So basically they are saying, I'm looking for an investment where I can't see the money, but it gives me a regular income and it holds its value. So it beats inflation, or just at least matches inflation. And that's the reason why people look at property and love property. The third asset class, which I think a lot of people like, is commodities, right? Gold. I do work with a lot of Asian families, and Asian families do tend to love gold as one of their asset holdings. Now think about this. Gold is a very good hedge against inflation. Gold is a very good store of value, but gold is very difficult to hold, right? Especially if you're holding gold bullion, right? Where are you going to store it? Your cost of insurance. It doesn't have any income. All right. So it's a great store of value, but not probably the best investment if you're worried about where to keep it. Right. So if you live in a place which is quite unsecured or you don't know where to hold the gold, you have those problems. And then people will go for an alternative like a gold ETF, um, which is another way of doing it. So commodities become a part of your portfolio. Bonds. Why do people like bonds? I mean, they like it for their consistent coupons. They are usually lower risk than an equity, but they give you the exposure to an equity environment because bonds are usually issued by corporates or governments. Uh, and majority of the bonds are primarily providing regular coupons, which is the reason why people buy bonds. They have a maturity value, so at maturity they tend to be capital protected. So you've got a lot of advantages and disadvantages. They could be illiquid, so that's one concern. Second is they can lose value. So when interest rates go up, bond values can go down. When interest rates go down, bond values can go up. Now, if we are in a flat interest rate environment, we can't make money on the bond price, but we can make money on the coupons. So there are certain strategies that come around bonds. But again, I can't be putting 100% of my money in bonds. And then we come to the fifth asset class, which is cash. I know a lot of clients who tell me, Sanjay, I like to hold cash because it's liquid. But we know one thing, that if you're holding cash, you're not beating inflation. All right. So, from a logical perspective, you need to hold a combination of all the assets to achieve what we call the perfect balanced portfolio. Not one asset class is good, not one asset class is bad. Together, they create the perfect solution. All these assets, right, are the perfect mix for making sure that your family always has money. Think about it. If you want the right amount of growth, you need to be able to diversify in these five different assets. You need to make sure that you hold value. You need to make sure you're making consistent amount of income. So it's about mixing these assets to achieve it. If you tell me only one is great, then there's a problem. That's a risk that you can't afford. Concentration is great when you don't have a lot to lose, but diversification is a great way to hold on to its value. So diversification doesn't exponentially increase your returns, but it helps you control losses. Concentration allows you to grow your portfolio, but that's okay if you have not much to lose. And that's why demographic plays such an important role. When you're young, you don't have a lot of money, you can be concentrated. But as you grow in this business, as you grow in your life, as you get older and older, you need to learn to move from concentrated to diversified. And that's what gets passed on to the next generation, a pool of diversified assets. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. But we have got financial planning wrong. Guys, asset mixes is a financial theory. Asset mix is a great financial theory, but it's not a great financial planning theory. All of you have heard this: asset accumulation, asset preservation, asset distribution. We all have heard this, right? So, right now, we spoke about asset accumulation, building the right portfolio. We spoke about asset preservation by diversifying. And then we talked about asset distribution, which is passing this on to the next generation. I just spoke about it, right? But this is a great financial theory. I want you to take a pause over here. It's a great financial theory, but it's not a great financial planning theory. We've got it wrong. It's not about assets, it's about income. And I want you all to think about this. What are we all working for? We're working for more and more income. So it's not about asset accumulation, it's about income accumulation. It's not about asset preservation, it's about income preservation. I don't want to lose the income that I get on a monthly basis, right? So it's about income preservation or income protection. And there is no product in the world that protects future income the way insurance does. There is no alternative to insurance when it comes to income protection. And that's the reason why a lot of asset managers don't talk about income protection, they talk about asset protection because they've not figured this out. We are the only profession in the world that protects future income for our clients and for families. And think about this. All right. So it's about income preservation. And then it's about income distribution. Think about this. What would you give your children? Would you prefer giving them a lump sum as an asset, or would you like to give them an income that they can use on a monthly, quarterly, annual basis? What would you like to leave your children? Assets or income? Think about it. Guys, we've got financial theory correct, but we've got financial planning theory wrong. Financial planning is about income accumulation, income preservation, and income distribution. Assets without an income become a liability. Assets without an income become a liability. So an asset is only as good as the income it generates. So if I know that, then why do I not focus on the income? If the income is good, the asset is automatically good. If the income is bad, automatically the asset is bad. It's as simple as that. It's just, and this presentation, I have a very simple presentation to explain this concept. I call it the tree and root presentation. All right. So if you look at the tree is only as strong as the roots it has. If you cut the tree, but the roots are strong, the tree will grow back. But if you cut the roots, the strongest tree will fall down. The tree is your assets. The roots is the income. If the income is strong, the tree will grow back. Now we are only seeing the asset. We are never looking at the income. And that's what blinds our clients. They are looking above the ground. They're not looking below the ground. They're focusing on asset values, but they're not focusing on the roots of that asset. If the roots are strong, the tree will automatically grow. But if the roots are weak, the tallest trees will fall down. Whenever there's a market fluctuation, the roots are weak, boom, the tree will fall down. And that's what we need to focus on. So if you truly want to be having a strong financial plan, you need to focus on the roots and not the tree. So it's about income, income, income. It's not about assets, assets, and assets. And that is what makes me different from other financial advisors, is the way I build this for my clients. I've created something called the ABCD strategy. All right. So the ABCD strategy is a duration strategy. It starts with aggressive. You see, when you're retiring, you want to start building variable income in the beginning and then slowly move it to guaranteed income. So the A strategy, which I call the aggressive strategy, is about putting money into equities, properties, commodities. So it starts with that. But as you build your portfolio, that's your concentration of risk. As you build your portfolio, as you keep saving more and more towards your retirement, you need to learn to shift from aggressive to balanced, where we now start adding a little bit of bonds. Then you move to cautious, where we start adding a little bit of money market, cash, something that's a lot more liquid, something that's a lot less volatile. And when you reach close to retirement, you want to move into anything that is liquid and provides you consistent income. All right? Because remember this, and I've said this before, an asset in retirement becomes a liability. An asset that does not generate an income becomes a liability. Get that very correct. So the way you introduce yourself, the way you speak to your customers, right? The way you speak to your prospects, and you focus on income rather than assets, it will change the way you're perceived by your clients. So guys, this is financial planning knowledge. This has nothing to do with sales. But you can use this knowledge to create the best conversation with your clients and give them the best advice to your ability. So it's about giving good advice. And that's what we're focusing on today, is giving your best advice to your clients. Today, we are documenting down basic financial planning advice for you to focus on so that you are more confident every time you speak to your clients and you're giving them advice that they can use right now. Not advice that they have to do 20, 30, 40 years in the future, but advice that they can use right now. And that's what I want you all to think about. Now, number 6, which is one of my favorites, right? The 6 sources of income. How many of you have identified all the 6 sources of income? Think about it. Rental income from property is one source of income. Coupons from a bond portfolio is a second source of income. Interest from fixed deposits is a third source of income. Number four, dividends from a preferred share or an income generating share is the fourth type of income. Number five, pension from a social security or a government system is the fifth type of income. Now, most of our clients have got these five. They've forgotten to have the six, income from endowments and annuities. They've forgotten to have the sixth type of income. So every time I sit down with a client, they usually tell me, Sanjay, I've got a lot of passive income coming from my properties. I've got passive income coming from my bond portfolio. I've got passive income coming from my fixed deposits. I've got passive income coming from my equity portfolio because I've got a lot of income generating shares. I've got passive income coming from the government. Well, Mr. Klein, congratulations. You've got 5 out of the 6. You've forgotten number 6. Think about it, guys. If you want the perfect mix of income, you need to have all 6. I'm not saying one is better than the other. Each has its own pros and cons. Each of these income has its own pros and cons. And that's why I need you all to spend some time to understand the risk, the pros and cons of each type of income. Is rental income from property guaranteed? Not really. Because you have to maintain the property, you have to take care of the property, you have to manage the property, and then you have some source of income. So it's not really passive, it's active income. Are coupons from a bond portfolio guaranteed income? Well, to some degree, they have got some level of guarantee, but they're also variable. So remember that you have got reinvestment risk, you've got credit risk of the bond issuer. What if the company that issued the bond went bankrupt? So you've got the credit risk, you've got the reinvestment risk. So it's got some level of guarantee, but it's not guaranteed. Is the interest from fixed deposit guaranteed? For the duration of the fixed deposit, it is. But then again, you come with reinvestment risk, right? You have to make sure that the interest rates are staying consistent. What if the interest rates go down? So you carry interest rate risk, you carry reinvestment risk, you carry all these risks that come with fixed deposits. Think about it. Dividends from preferred shares or income from equity portfolio. What's nice about that? Well, the income is not guaranteed. It's not consistent. It can come, it might not come. If the equity value drops, you might not be able to liquidate. So there are a lot of things that come with that as well. So they've got pros and cons. I'm not saying one is the best. They all come with their own pros and cons. But together, they might be creating the perfect mix of income that generates when you retire. Pension from government social security. Well, usually that's guaranteed, right? The government protects it. But what if the political party changes? What if the politics affects that income? You see, when you reach of a certain age, you don't know how the government might change their rules and regulations towards social security. They might reduce your income, they might increase your income. We actually don't have that. So we don't know what happens, right? You can't predict that. But yes, once it starts, there's usually a guarantee attached to it. However, question is how much do you want to depend on it? And the sixth, which is what we call income from annuities and endowment plans. I want you all to spend some time to think about this. You need to have all 6 to be secured. You need to have a combination of all 6, not 1, not 2, not 3. So one of the most common objections that you get is, Sanjay, I've already got the rentals. I've already got the bond portfolio. Why do I need an annuity plan? Or why do I need an insurance plan? Well, Mr. Client, you see, an insurance company's only job is to do proper retirement planning. The product was designed to give consistent income. The risk is managed by the insurance company. Think about it. Do you want to manage the risk when you get to 75, 80, 85? You probably don't. At that time, you just want consistent income. And that's what I specialize in, getting consistent income when you are not of an age to manage it. I have a lot of clients who tell me, Sanjay, I can keep managing this portfolio. Yes, you can. I truly believe you can. But what if one day you can't? You see, there are 2 types of retirement, voluntary and involuntary. Voluntary retirement is a very happy moment where you choose when you want to retire. That's a great moment to be in. But there's something called involuntary retirement where you have been forced to retire. And there are 2 reasons why you're forced to retire. Number 1 is usually bad health, right? So if you fall sick, you might be forced to retire. Number 2 is significantly old age. You might reach a certain age where you physically cannot work anymore and you will be forced to retire. We need to plan for that. That's what is good advice. Planning for involuntary retirement, because voluntary retirement you can take care of. It's the involuntary retirement that you need my support. It's the involuntary retirement, things that can go wrong, that can force you to retire. That is what I work on. And that's good advice. So, guys, I want you all to think about this, that if you don't get this correct, if you don't get this strategy correct, you're going to lose out to the opportunities that will be in front of you. 6 sources of income. This is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of basic financial planning. If you're really serious about this career, if you're really serious about this business, I want you all to spend more time on understanding the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of financial planning. One presentation that helps you have that conversation. All right. 2 types of income that you can focus on, guaranteed or variable. The 3 questions that you need to ask to be able to understand what is your client's profile risk matrix. The 4 rules of thumb and the 4 products that we focus on. The 5 types of assets that you can invest in, and the 6 sources of income that will work for you in the future. Because if you think about it, if you use these 6 strategies, you will get to the next level. It will get your foundation set up. This foundation will allow you to build your team. This foundation will allow you to help new advisors when they join the profession. A lot of new advisors don't know where to start. This will help them understand how to work in this profession. Guide new advisors on the basics of financial planning. Give them the right foundation. If you give them the right foundation, they'll move to the next level. The problem is when a new advisor joins this business, they're pushed into selling products. They're not taught why. They're taught which product, which company, which solution. They're not taught why they need to talk about concepts. So, guys, help new advisors get to the next level by giving them the right foundation. Spend some time. I have spent a lot of time learning financial planning strategies so that I can give the best advice to my clients. Now, I know some of y'all will start celebrating Chinese New Year in the next I would say in the next 10, 15 days, right? When you start celebrating Chinese New Year, guys, it's the best time for you to reach out to your clients, friends, prospects who need your help, who need your advice. The best Chinese New Year gift you can give to your clients is great advice. It's not about giving them ang paos and sending them gifts and chocolates. It's giving them good advice. When was the last time you actually valued the advice that you gave to people? When was the last time you made them feel that you have shared something with them that they wish they knew earlier? Guys, your best ang pao for Chinese New Year is giving the best advice to your clients. Spend some time to reach out to them. This is the best time to call anybody. They are expecting your call. Your family and friends who need to know about our business. Spend time to know that. Guys, 2022 has just started. If you don't have the right strategy in place, you're going to be in trouble. So, over 2022, I'm just telling this to everyone so that you know what I'm going to be doing over 2022. I have a huge target for 2022. I'm working very hard. I don't have the time to keep doing events like this. So, what I will tell you is what I will be sharing with you going forward. On the 28th of February, I'm doing the 50 prospecting and concept presentations. If you think that is something that's valuable, think about it. Get your basics first. This is a more advanced strategy that I'll be sharing. In May, I'll be talking about the objection handling because I realized the longer you take to handle objections, the slower your sales process is. So this will be more focusing towards your sales and not financial planning knowledge. So please remember that you have to learn financial planning knowledge and sales strategy to make it work perfectly. So I'll be talking about objection handling in the month of May. In the month of July, I'll be focusing more towards closing strategies and what are the subtle ways to build a proper closing system for yourself. And towards October, we'll again go back into final sprint. It is the last quarter. So we need to have the right strategy to get 2022 closing correctly. All right. So that's my session for this year. That's the plan that I have. Harris, if you could help me answer some questions, that'll be absolutely wonderful so that can help us do that.
All
Let
right.
your team watch this video, guys. So spend some time to watch this video with your team so that they get their basics clear as well.
Okay, so for everybody that's watching, if you still have questions, please put them in the chat. Our team is still gathering some questions, but we do have a collection of few questions that already came in from previously. So let me start. This is a question from Dinesh. Dinesh says or asks, Sanjay, if one client has a 5-year-old and another at 15 years old, so two kids, one 5-year-old, one 15-year-old, do you think the generic number of 5% for education still is a good number? Should it be more? Should it be what? How would your advice change?
All right. So it starts with giving generic advice. I'll give you very simple. So you should have started saving 5% as soon as the child was born. Now, you haven't started. So if your child is already 15, think about it. You have lost 15 years of saving 5%, right? Think about it. It's as simple as that. Your child is 5, you have missed out 5 years of saving 5%. So obviously you can't save the same amount of money. You should be saving 5% from the day the child is born. And that's one thing that people don't understand. So I can give you specific advice for this client. However, they should anyways be saving 5%. They should have already saved that 5%. So if they have not saved, bad luck. It's better they start now with something at least. It's better to have some money when they are starting education than to have no money at all. So I'm not saying this is a foolproof plan, but it allows you to make sure that the parents have some money at least to allow the child to start the education. If they need more money on the way, well, we'll figure that out. They might have to sell some assets, they might have to take a loan. We will figure that out. But if you have some money saved, at least you have a head start so that when the education starts, they already know that they have started the education and we'll figure it out on the way. So that's the correct way to handle it, Dinesh.
All right, perfect. Now, a question from Shipra. She asks, how to protect spouse's income if the spouse isn't working?
Well, okay. First of all, we protect the income of the breadwinner. Okay, so that's how the financial planning strategy works. Number one, you're protecting the income of the breadwinner. Now, the income of the breadwinner has to be protected in 3 scenarios. Number one, in case the breadwinner uh, loses his job, falls sick or passes away, the family needs an income. In case the spouse or the breadwinner falls sick or passes away, the breadwinner's income needs to be protected because now all of a sudden he takes on the responsibility of the spouse. I'll give you a simple example. Let's assume we're talking about a housewife. All right. So for all the women out there, I'm just generically talking. It's generic advice. Don't think I'm being I'm not supporting women or something, but I just want you all to understand the concept. So there's a husband who works, there's a wife who doesn't work. And the husband's earning, he's a breadwinner. The wife is taking care of the children. If something happens to the wife, right, all of a sudden the father has to also become the mother. So who is the father then? Who's going to work? So I need to protect the income in case the spouse falls sick or the spouse passes away. The third scenario in which I have to protect the breadwinner is in case if the child falls sick. Think about it. If the child falls sick, would you be going to work or would you be spending time with your child? So I need to protect your income in case your child falls sick as well. And a lot of people don't realize this. They keep telling me, Sanjay, why do I need to buy income protection for my child? My child is not earning any money. My friend, it's very simple. When your child is unwell, do you want to be spending time with your child or do you want to be going to work? So I need to protect your income in all 3 scenarios in case you fall sick, in case your spouse falls sick, and in case your child falls sick. Right? And that's why income protection is very important for the breadwinner's income. So even if your spouse is not generating an income, it's your income that gets affected in case your spouse falls sick. And that's how I would handle it, Shipra.
Okay, perfect. Now, question from Bharat. He asks, Dr. Sanjay, the things in India are somewhat different. So he says that they have life insurance, so you have term endowment, whole life, but do not have specific critical illness product. So while you're presenting 28,000, how do we proceed with that?
So you do have in India something called accelerated critical illness, which is a product that basically pays out in case of critical illness or death, whichever happens one. So It is not necessary that you have to have a specific critical illness product. You could have it as a rider, which is an accelerated benefit. So basically, I would pay out in case you have an illness or you pass away, whichever happens first. So you do have that product in India. It's not different in India. It's pretty much the same globally. So a lot of countries don't have a standalone critical illness. Actually, personally, I don't even think people should buy standalone critical illness because the cost of standalone critical illness is almost the same as buying accelerated critical illness. So personally, I think it's you could actually be doing both in one product, covering life insurance and critical illness, and that could be a very good general advice that you could give to your clients.
Okay, perfect. All right. Now, a question from Juan. Juan asks, the 5% for education, is that for one child or what if there are multiple children in the family?
I love this question. All right, guys, I want you all to think about this, right? So when I was doing my PhD, I was trying to put together a financial plan that can be followed by any family. So if you have, think about it, if you have 3 children, the 3 children's education today is based on the income that you generate, right? So you don't have higher income because you have more children. Your income is a constant. Whether you have 1 child, 3 children, 5 children, or 10 children, your income is a constant. There's only so much of your income that you can actually save. If you're already spending 7 to 10% towards life insurance, you're spending another 20% towards your retirement, right? So that's already taken up 30% of your income. You can probably save another 5% more. You can't save more than that. So just because you have more children doesn't mean you have to save more money. It only means you better be earning a lot more. All right.
Yeah.
So it's 5% of your income and not 5% per child. You should be saving between 30 to 40% of your income towards your financial plans. That's usually the benchmark. 20% towards your retirement, 10% towards your insurance policies, and 5% towards your kids' education. So that's usually the matrix. That's the rule of thumb. It could be slightly higher, it could be slightly lower, depending on your case to case scenario, but that's the general rule of thumb.
Yeah, I think it's really important because sometimes if families try to oversave for their children, they then forget their own retirement, and then it comes back to square one, and then they become a burden to their children because they never plan for themselves. So yeah, I think it's very
Absolutely.
important.
Right. So there's a question that I ask a lot of my clients. Would you want your kids to be taking care of your retirement, or would you like to do it yourself? Because somebody needs to, right? So would you like to be dependent on your kids? Some families do agree to that, right? So I do know of families that say, Sanjay, my kids are my retirement plan. And I'm like, have your kids agree to that?
They're 5. They don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I love having that conversation. My kids are my retirement plan. I end up having one of the most funny conversations with them, but it's a fun conversation, right? So I had a client who told me that once. Sanjay, I'm investing so much into their education. I'm investing so much into their business. I'm investing so much into their lifestyle. I'm investing so much into them. And I said, that's absolutely wonderful, right? But have they agreed to take care of you? Sanjay, that's my value system. That's the value system of our family, that we will take care of our adults. That's brilliant. You see, they will take care of you from a moral perspective. But do you want them to take care of you from a financial perspective? It's very easy to ask for moral support. It's very easy to ask for emotional support. It's very difficult to ask for financial support. Think about it. Guys, even your best friend will at any time in the world give you moral support, emotional support, spiritual support, any other type of support except financial support. The one thing that my father taught me when I was very young, he said, Sanjay, you can ask for any type of favor, but you can never ask for money. Because even if you ask for $50, right, they'll be like, why do you need it? Right? Think about it. Guys, this is for all of you to understand. You will get any type of support in the world. The one type of support you will not get is financial support. And why do you expect it? So why not plan for the financial support? Because everyone will give you moral support, including your neighbor. And my father said that to me many, many years ago. He said, son, if you don't take care of me, don't worry. Even the neighbor will.
All right, so move on. Next question. We have a question from Colin. Dr. Sanjay, most of the clients are asking for short-term investments, but usually insurance investments or insurance endowment policies are usually more longer term. How do I handle this objection when clients prefer short-term investment options?
So one of the things, the way I talk to my clients is explain to them the difference between doing long-term and short-term. Short-term investments are great if you're doing something that's for liquidity, right? So if it's an emergency fund, I would tell you to do short-term investments. The advantage of doing long-term investments is locking in guarantees for the long term. You want to make sure that when you achieve a certain age, you have achieved that certain financial goals. And it's important to have those long-term commitments towards yourself. It's not the insurance company. It's not about the product. It's not about that. It's about the commitment to yourself. When you marry someone, can you do short-term marriages? Not really, right? A marriage is for lifetime. Your commitment to your spouse is pretty much for lifetime. Your commitment to your children is also pretty much for lifetime. So if your commitments are short-term, you can do short-term planning. But if your commitments are long-term, you need to do long-term planning. Your commitment to your family is long-term. It's not short-term. So remember one thing, your plans have to be based on your commitment duration. For example, let's say you take a liability for a car. So you take a 4-year car loan. You need only insurance for 4 years. Why? Because in 4 years, that commitment is over. So the duration of the commitment is the duration of your financial plan or the product. So the product only matches the duration of your commitment. Short-term duration, short-term commitment. Long-term duration, long-term commitments. And that's how you handle that objection.
All right, perfect. Okay, a question from Chintaka. She asks, what if your insurance company goes bankrupt? What happens to all the money you paid as premiums?
It's a brilliant question because I've been asked this question by a lot of clients. Guys, please understand this, that insurance companies, first of all, have got 2 levels of protection. The first layer of protection is your local regulation. All right. So the local regulation usually will protect clients for insurance. So the country, the government, your local regulation will protect them. The second layer of protection is usually what we call reinsurance. Insurance companies also buy reinsurance to protect its portfolio from having excessive losses. All right. So you also have that second level of protection. Governments around the world understand that insurance is a plan B for everyone. And if your plan B fails, there's nothing that protects you. So insurance companies are a safety net, not just for families, but also for economies. They are safety net even for governments. So there is a lot of regulation in place to protect the insurance companies from going bankrupt. There are a lot of due diligence, a lot of checks. So there is a lot of regulatory support that protects insurance companies. So will it go bankrupt? Can it go bankrupt? Well, technically, from a fundamental perspective, there are many things that can happen that could go wrong. However, there are a lot of cases in which you are protected, right? So there's regulatory protection, there's reinsurance protection, and you will be able to monitor that on a regular basis. You will not see an insurance company just disappear. There's a lot of government that would get involved. There's a lot of work that gets involved. So you have that opportunity to protect yourself and your clients. And that's how I would handle that question.
All right, perfect. Okay, a question from Sunny. Sunny asks, if you have a client that's nearing his retirement age, so pre-retiree, what kind of product can you recommend?
Usually, if someone is getting very close to their retirement, an immediate annuity is a good option because they would already have some liquidity on the side, which they could convert into an income. And I would definitely talk about getting critical illness insurance or life insurance so that they don't have to worry about the capital. So they can actually start consuming the capital, and that capital can be passed on to the next generation as a life insurance policy. So I would usually use immediate annuities or what we call short-term quick annuities that would pay out for a client like that. So that's what I would use.
Okay, perfect. All right, a question from Sarah. Sarah asks, how can I convince my client, she is female, single, and a vice president in a company, to get health insurance? She has no health insurance right now. She only wants to focus on investments.
Okay. First of all, Sarah, health insurance is a very commodity product. So let me be very clear about this to everyone. Health insurance is a very commodity product. Providing advice on health insurance, you have to be ready to provide commodity advice on an annual basis. All right. There are a lot of people who will not feel the need to buy health insurance because they feel they're healthy and they don't need it. However, we need to understand health insurance does one very important thing. It caps the maximum loss from your pocket. So if you do fall sick, health insurance, basically the cost is your premium. Once you have paid the premium, you know that the doctor's bills will be taken care of. So in case you're admitted in a hospital, you've got two ways to pay for it. You either pay from your own pocket or you get the insurance company to pay for it. Which one would you prefer? Would you like to pay it for yourself or would you like an insurer to pay it? Now, if you pay from your own side, it's self-insurance, which means there's no loss. There's no loss capacity, which means it could be any amount. And you could end up liquidating all the investments that you're very proud of. All right. And you could be liquidating them at the wrong time because when you fall sick is not linked to markets. You could be falling sick when the markets are going down. You could be falling sick when the market is going up. It's not related to markets, right? So if you do fall sick, the question is, do you want me to pay for it or do you want to pay for it? The advantage of me paying for it is you have a maximum capacity on how much you have to spend. And that is your insurance premium. But if you want to pay for it, there's no ceiling to how much that loss could be. And that's how I would handle that, right? Is explain that to my client that listen, set a ceiling to your maximum loss on an annual basis and use the income from your investments to pay for that ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I would handle it, Sarah.
Yeah, perfect. Use the income to pay for the premium, so you still get to keep the capital.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. A question from Aditya. Aditya asks, right now there's quite a bit of inflation, right? So income from annuity plans get affected. How do you convince or how do you talk about that?
All right. So first of all, you have to understand an annuity basically. So again, this is very product specific. So let me give you a little understanding of what happens over a period of time. If there's inflation that's happening right now, your annuities slowly catch up. If there's again the inflation drops, your annuities take very long to come back down. So it basically smooths out the effect of inflation on your portfolio. So yes, there might be certain years where your inflation is higher than the annuity payout, but there will be certain years where your annuity payout is higher than the inflation. So I'll give you a simple example. My father had started an annuity plan for me back in the 80s, which pays 8% per annum guaranteed. Now, at that time, 8% was very low because the interest rate in the market was 12%. So people were like, I'm getting 12% in my fixed deposit and you're only paying me 8% in my annuity. Well, today I'm still getting paid 8%. The interest rate in the market is almost zero. All right. So you've got good days, you have bad days. You've got good days, you have bad days. But it's about finding the right mix. So I'm not saying that one product is the best product. It's a good part of your portfolio. And that's why I spoke about the 6 sources of income. The equity portfolio, the dividend paying portfolio will adjust for inflation. Your bond portfolio will adjust for inflation. Your real estate will adjust for inflation. But those are all variable income.
Yeah.
Your annuity portfolio gives you consistent income.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's about using the perfect combination of all 6 sources of income. And that's how I would handle that.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I'm not sure if this is available everywhere, but in Singapore we have variable annuities that have a portion guaranteed, a portion variable. So
you have that in Singapore, you have that in Hong Kong, you do have that in the US, you've got that all across Europe, you have that in India, you have that. I mean, you can even create a variable annuity portfolio using an ILP. So a lot of people have not realized that you could even be using an investment linked product to create a variable annuity type of investment using a combination of all the different funds or asset classes that you can invest in. So guys, please understand your product choice is dependent on the strategy that you want to build. You can actually use even an investment linked product to create a variable annuity kind of return using a combination of fixed income, bonds, equities, real estate, or REITs to kind of build that combination of the 6 sources of income into one product. So you do have that option. It's just about how creative you can be with your asset mix and your product choices.
Okay, perfect. Okay, now a question from VJ. VJ asks, how do you compare insurance with mutual funds?
You can't. That's one of the biggest mistakes that financial advisors or financial planners or even clients do. The purpose of mutual funds is very different from insurance. The purpose of mutual fund is to have a growth portfolio. The purpose of insurance is to protect future income. How do you compare something that is protecting future income and the other thing that's actually talking about growth? It's like saying, how do I compare an airbag to a gearbox? All right. You have a car. Okay. The gearbox decides the speed. So that's your mutual fund. I can go in gear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the speed of my portfolio. Do you want to drive a car without an airbag? I can't compare the airbag, which is a safety net, which is your insurance, to the gearbox of the car. You can't drive a car without a gearbox. So if you just have an airbag, right, but there's no gearbox, well, the car is just standing still, right? The airbag has no value. So it's about finding, you need, though, to have the car, you need to have different things, right? So your mutual fund portfolio or your investment portfolio is the gearbox of the car. It decides the speed at which your car will move. Now, the faster your car moves, the more insurance you need because you've got a higher risk of having an accident, right? So when you're comparing mutual funds to insurance, you're comparing a gearbox to an airbag. And you're saying if you have a gearbox, you don't need an airbag, or if you have an airbag, you don't need a gearbox. It's absolutely incorrect, right? So guys, get that very clear. You've got to stop comparing things that are not even related to each other. They're part of the same car. They're part of a financial car. All right. And that's what you need to understand. They're two different parts of a car. And you're comparing, not even comparing apples to oranges. You're comparing airbags to gearboxes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's perfect. Actually, it's a very simple analogy to understand. Yeah. Okay. A question from Christopher. Christopher asks very simply, how did you come up with the 28,000 days? Like, why 28,000 days? Because I also know that life expectancy is increasing. So are you going to change it to 32,000? I don't know.
Okay, so it's been a rule of thumb, right? So again, like I said, 28,000 is a rule of thumb. If life expectancy increases, it only means you need to plan retirement for a longer period of time, right? So the only change in the presentation or the only change to your advice is that you're going to live longer. And if you're going to live longer, I need to plan your retirement better. So that's the only change to that presentation that needs to be done. I was taught 28,000 by one of my mentors, and that presentation stayed on. It became a very easy conversation starter. It's easy for people to relate to because a lot of people psychologically still think 80 is the right age, even though life expectancy is increased. I mean, I have clients who tell me, I think I will not even cross 60. And I said, if you're not even going to cross 60, then we have a bigger problem. Right. So I still have clients who tell me, Sanjay, I think life expectancy is 60. And I said, that's all right. It only means you have lesser time to do whatever you want in your life. All right. So we need to make sure that you're even protected during that lesser period of time. But if people agree that life expectancy is longer, then the only change in my advice is we need to plan your retirement a lot more better because, hey, you're going to live a lot more longer. Right. So at least let's prepare for 28,000. If it becomes 30,000, then we just need to make sure that you're prepared for 30,000 now.
All right. Okay. Very good. Okay. So, okay, we have a question. It's kind of repeated with inflation and return things. I'll skip that. Okay. A question from Gurpreet. This is actually a pretty good question. So he asks, I have a client that says they have enough insurance, but they refuse to disclose their portfolio, right? And so how do you deal with that? How do you make sure that this person actually has enough?
Gurpreet, that does happen with quite a few clients that I meet. So they don't really want to disclose their financial net worth or their insurance portfolio or their investment portfolio because of two reasons. Number one, they probably don't trust you enough yet. And number two, somebody's already told them that they have enough. All right. And that's when it's very important to use the rules of thumb. So tell them, I'm sure you have enough, but why don't I share with you the rules of thumb? And if you have fulfilled these rules of thumb, you're correct. You have enough. Life insurance should be approximately 10 times of annual income. If you have that, great. Income protection due to illness or what we call critical illness should be 5 times of annual income. If you have done that, great. You should be saving 20% towards your retirement. If you've done that, great. And you should be saving 5% towards your kids' education. If you've done all these four, great. You actually don't have to worry about it. So, Gurpreet, understand one thing. I've actually not met a single client in the world that's done all four. That's the good news. The bad news is they might believe they have enough. And that's why the rules of thumb are such a great way to help them and self analyze. Guys, it's not about being pushy, right? It's not about being salesy. It's about educating your clients on what's proper financial planning. And that's what this session is about, giving good advice to your clients, irrespective of whether they work with you or they don't work with you. When you leave that meeting, if your client is not saying thank you, you have not given them enough value. When you leave that meeting, your client should feel, wow, I'm so glad I met this person. I'm so glad that this person shared something with me that I wish somebody else would have. When was the last time you had a client tell you thank you for the advice that you have given? That should be the purpose of your meeting with your clients, not selling, but rather educating them on how to do proper financial planning. So that's how you handle it, Gurpreet.
Yeah. In fact, some I guess personal experience, for clients that refuse to disclose, and let's say you even finally get them to disclose, they might be like, "Oh, I think I already have too much," and then they even want to cancel some of their plans. So they
Yeah,
might even backfire.
yeah, I've seen that. That's happened. Like I said, I realize fact finding doesn't work because they don't give you all the facts. So I know I wish they did, right? So people lie. I mean, I go with the straight mentality into a meeting, knowing the fact that people have an ego and they will tell you things that make their ego feel fine, right? How many people will sit down and say, I'm sorry, I messed up, right? Or I'm sorry, I've not saved enough money, or you know what, I've not bought enough insurance. When was the last time a client ever told you that? So they have that ego of that them being correct. And that's why I don't challenge that ego, right? Just educate them enough so that they will make corrections and say, oh, you know what? Thanks for sharing that. And, let's upgrade what I have. Or they will give you the data and then you make the call.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Perfect. That pretty much wraps up our Q&A time. So thank you everybody for your questions. I think if we have more, maybe we'll find another time to answer the rest of them.
That's
But
brilliant.
yes, that's pretty much the
So,
end of
guys,
the
I
Q&A.
do want to remind everyone on the 28th of February, we do
Yep.
have the session, which is specifically towards prospecting and concepts, so that you have got 50 good prospecting concept sales strategies for yourself to start the year. It's on the 28th of Feb. So if I think we've sold out. But in case, I'll check with the team if we can open up some more slots, because I know I saw a lot of messages saying when is the session and how do I come for it. So I'm just, for those of you who are interested in that, I'll get my team to open that up for you. For those of you who are in my big case closer, guys, this is the time to use proper financial planning advice to get your sales cranked up. We're almost towards the end of month one. Don't lose out on this opportunity of Chinese New Year to start having conversations with your clients. It's a great time to pick up the phone and talk to them, right? So, for those of you who are celebrating Chinese New Year, use this opportunity to pick up the phone and talk to your clients. So, all of you who are in my BCC program, please remember, do that. All the ones who are in the BCC program, I want you all to also remember that in the first week of February, we will be having our next session. So make sure you have got yourself registered to come to that session. And I look forward to seeing all of you. Best of luck for 2022. Guys, do spend some time with your team to re-watch this video. This is real knowledge for them to build the right foundation. It's for free. Watch it. Do it. I'm doing this for a very specific reason. I want each one of you to become better at the business